The dam that built modern America, the incredible story of Hoover Dam. Imagine standing in the middle of a scorching desert. The year is 1931. The Great Depression is crushing America. Millions of people are unemployed. Banks are failing. Families are losing their homes. And across the country, hope is becoming increasingly difficult to find. Yet, in the middle of this crisis, the United States government decides to attempt something that many believe is impossible. A project so large, so dangerous, and so ambitious that some experts wonder whether it can even be completed. The plan is simple on paper. Stop one of the most powerful rivers in North America, control it, harness it, and use its power to transform the future of the American West. The river was the Colorado River. The project would become Hoover Dam, and the story behind it is one of the greatest engineering achievements in human history. Because Hoover Dam didn't just change a river, it changed America forever. A river no one could control. Long before Hoover Dam existed, the Colorado River was both a blessing and a nightmare. The river stretched across vast regions of the American West, providing water to farms, towns, and communities. But it was unpredictable. Some years brought severe flooding. Entire areas could be devastated. Other years brought drought, leaving communities struggling for water. For decades, engineers searched for solutions. America was growing rapidly. Cities needed electricity. Farmers needed reliable water. Industries needed power. Without a solution, future growth would be limited. Eventually, government leaders reached a conclusion. The Colorado River had to be controlled, and controlling it would require one of the largest construction projects ever attempted. The Great Depression. Then came 1929. The stock market crashed. The Great Depression began. Unemployment exploded. Millions of Americans suddenly found themselves without work. The country desperately needed jobs. At the same time, planners were preparing one of the biggest infrastructure projects in history. The timing seemed perfect. The dam could provide employment, it could stimulate economic activity, and it could create resources that would benefit future generations. Construction was approved. The challenge now was building it. Entering the desert, the location chosen was Black Canyon, near the border of Nevada and Arizona. The environment was brutal. Summer temperatures often exceeded 120 degrees Fahrenheit. There were no major cities nearby, few roads, limited infrastructure, almost nothing existed. Before workers could build the dam, they had to build an entire community. Housing, roads, utilities, supply networks. Everything had to be created from scratch. Thousands of workers arrived seeking employment. Many were desperate. Many had families depending on them. For them, Hoover Dam represented more than construction. It represented opportunity. A city is born to support the massive workforce. A new town was created, Boulder City. Unlike many temporary construction camps, Boulder City was carefully planned. Workers and families settled there. Businesses opened. Schools were established. The city quickly became the center of one of the largest engineering projects in America. Every day, thousands of people traveled to the construction site, and every day they faced extraordinary challenges. Taming the Colorado River. Before the dam could be built, engineers faced an enormous problem: the river itself. You cannot build a dam while water is flowing through the construction area. The Colorado River had to be diverted. This required the construction of giant tunnels through solid rock. The tunnels were massive. Workers blasted through canyon walls, removing millions of tons of material. The work was dangerous. Dust filled the air. Temperatures were extreme. Conditions were difficult. Yet progress continued. Eventually, the river was redirected. For the first time, construction of the dam itself could begin. Building a giant. What followed was one of the most remarkable construction efforts ever seen. The scale was almost unbelievable. Hoover Dam would stand more than 700 feet tall. Enough concrete was used to build highways stretching across the country. Engineers worked around the clock. Teams coordinated every stage of construction. Every section required precision. Mistakes could be catastrophic. Yet despite the challenges, the project moved forward, day after day, month after month, year after year. The giant structure slowly rose from the canyon floor, and people across America began watching with fascination. The human cost. But the project was not without sacrifice. Construction was dangerous. Workers faced extreme heat, heavy machinery, blasting operations, and hazardous conditions. Accidents occurred. Lives were lost. Families were affected. The men who worked on Hoover Dam paid a price that is often forgotten. Today, millions admired the structure, but behind every section of concrete lies a story of human effort and determination. Their contribution became part of one of America's greatest achievements. A new era of power. As construction progressed, another transformation was taking place. Electricity. The dam was designed to generate enormous amounts of power. At a time when many communities lacked reliable electricity, this was revolutionary. The hydroelectric generators inside Hoover Dam would provide energy for growing cities, homes, businesses, factories. Entire regions would benefit. The impact was enormous. Cities such as Las Vegas, Los Angeles, and others gained access to resources that helped fuel future growth. The American West was changing, and Hoover Dam was at the center of that change. The completion. In 1935, Hoover Dam was officially completed. What many had considered impossible was now reality. A giant wall of concrete stood across the Colorado River. Flooding was controlled. Water supplies became more reliable. Electricity flowed across the region. The project became an international symbol of engineering excellence. Visitors traveled from around the world to see it. Engineers studied it. Governments admired it. Hoover Dam had become far more than infrastructure. It had become a symbol of what determination and innovation could achieve. The impact on America. Decades later, the effects of Hoover Dam are still visible. Millions of people continue benefiting from its resources. Water supports agriculture. Electricity powers communities. Tourism attracts visitors. The project helped shape the modern American West. Without Hoover Dam, cities like Las Vegas might never have developed the way they did. The growth of entire regions depended on the stability and resources the dam provided. Its influence extends far beyond the canyon where it was built. Lessons from Hoover Dam. Perhaps the most remarkable part of the story is not the concrete, or the machinery, or even the engineering. It is the timing. America built Hoover Dam during one of the most difficult periods in its history. During economic hardship, during uncertainty, during a moment when many people had lost hope. Yet instead of accepting limitations, thousands of workers, engineers, and planners came together to create something extraordinary. A project that would outlive all of them. A project that continues serving millions of people nearly a century later. Today, visitors standing on Hoover Dam often admire its size, its architecture, its engineering. But the true story is much larger. Hoover Dam represents ambition, determination, innovation, and the belief that even during the darkest times, great achievements remain possible. Because in the middle of the Great Depression, when America desperately needed hope, a group of ordinary people accomplished something extraordinary. They didn't just build a dam, they helped build modern America. And nearly a century later, their achievement still stands as one of the greatest engineering triumphs in human history. If you enjoyed this documentary, subscribe to Hidden Nexus for more stories about history, engineering, innovation, and the remarkable projects that changed the world forever. Because sometimes the most important chapters of history are built one stone, one idea, and one dream at a time. And perhaps that is why Hoover Dam continues to inspire people even today. Nearly a century has passed since the first workers arrived in the desert. Many of the men who built the dam are gone. The engineers are gone. The planners are gone. The world they lived in has changed dramatically, yet the structure they created remains, standing silently between towering canyon walls. Day after day, year after year, decade after decade, few construction projects in history have left such a lasting impact. Because Hoover Dam was never just about concrete. It was never just about electricity, and it was never just about controlling a river. It was about solving a problem that seemed impossible. At the time, many people believed the project was too ambitious, too expensive, too dangerous, too difficult. Yet America pushed forward anyway, and that decision changed the future of an entire region. The cities that now shine across the American Southwest owe part of their existence to this remarkable project. The lights of Las Vegas, the neighborhoods of Southern California, the farms that feed millions of people, all were influenced by a decision made nearly 100 years ago. In many ways, Hoover Dam became a symbol of what can happen when innovation meets determination, when people refuse to accept limitations, when they choose to build instead of surrender. And perhaps that is the reason millions of visitors continue traveling to see it every year, not because it is the largest dam in the world, not because it is the newest, but because it represents something bigger. A reminder that extraordinary achievements often begin during difficult times. The Great Depression was one of the hardest periods in American history. Fear was everywhere in a world where a single misunderstanding could start. Even in those circumstances, people found the courage to think big, to dream big, and to build something that future generations would benefit from. No internet today, no satellite imagery. Stand at the top of Hoover Dam and look down at the Colorado River below. They see more than an engineering project. They see a story of workers who endured brutal desert heat. A story of engineers who solved challenges few thought possible. An intelligence story of a nation determined to create opportunity during one of its darkest moments. And perhaps most importantly, a story that proves human ambition can accomplish the constant possibility things that your greatest long after the machines stopped working, long after construction ended, and long after the headlines disappeared, Hoover Dam remained. Still generating power, still providing water, still serving millions of people, a silent giant in the desert, a monument to determination, a monument to innovation, and a monument to the idea that some projects do more than change landscapes. They change history itself. And nearly a century later, might be preparing for something many once considered impossible. That was the reality as one of the greatest engineering achievements ever built. A reminder that sometimes the biggest dreams leave the longest shadows. Outro. If you enjoyed this documentary, subscribe to Hidden Nexus for more incredible stories of history, engineering, innovation, and the remarkable people who shaped our world for decades. Because the United States just about the past, and the Soviet Union, it's about the ideas that continue shaping our future.